Welcome to the Ultrahuman experience. This session is free for you for the complete experience. Please download the Ultrahuman app.
Good evening. I am Jerome, and tonight we go back in time to the age of the gods. Time of magic, power, and wonder. Ancient is our story, and it speaks of our hero who is half man and half god. A hero who was born into a family of supernatural beings, saved by the ocean and raised by the gods. He has many legendary tales to his name and is known as the discoverer of fire, the ensnarer of the sun, the fisherman who pulls up islands, and Maui with spirit power. Tonight we dive down below the waves to discover a legend from New Zealand. Many New Zealanders believe that their island was pulled out of the ocean by a fisherman with a magical fish hook, as it is related in Maori ancestral lore. Maui, the fisherman, is also an ancestor of their oldest tribes and is among the most ancient of their gods. So, tonight, let's settle down to sleep and allow the fables of Maui to send us to pleasant dreams. Our story begins in the home of 5 brothers. The brothers had one thing in common. All their names began with Maui. Maui Taha was the first. Maui Roto came next. Maui Pai was third. Maui Woho was fourth. And the youngest one was called Maui Pōtiki, Maui the last born. The child was clever and knew as much magic of the earth and the sky as his wise ancestor, Tāne Nui Arangi. Little Maui was mischievous, always looking to make trouble, and so he was also called Maui Wharekino, meaning Maui the house of trouble. One could never tell if Maui found trouble or if trouble found Maui, but they always kept each other company. Even as a little boy, Maui would use his powers to play mysterious pranks on his brothers. His favorite enchantment was changing forms, so that one moment he was human, the next a bird, and so on. Once, while playing hide and seek with his brothers, Maui secretly transformed himself into a tiny insect. The brothers looked everywhere for their youngest brother, but they could not find him. Suddenly they heard little Maui Pōtiki's voice coming from a corner of the house. But when they looked for him there, they still couldn't find him. Then they heard his voice from under the floor mats. But when they looked under the mats, all they found was a small insect. Just when they were beginning to think that their little brother had disappeared, they realized that Maui had tricked them. Glaring at the insect, they picked it up from the floor. Maui knew he was in trouble, so he quickly transformed into an eagle, and chuckling heartily he flew away from their grasp. Even though he was quick-witted and his enchantments were wonderfully entertaining, Maui was a terrible fisherman. He could never catch fish like his brothers did, and so Maui cheated After many fishing excursions, Maui's brothers began to see through his tricks, and soon they refused to take him in their waka when they paddled out to the deep sea fishing grounds. But Maui would not give up. Every time his brothers set off, Maui would leap into their canoe, determined to go with them. But his brothers would push him off their canoe, and Maui would have to swim back to shore. They loved their little brother Maui, but as he was terrible at fishing and cheated all the time, the brothers hardened their hearts and refused to let him come along. Maui was very unhappy that he could not join his brothers on their ocean adventures, because he loved both the ocean and a chance at an adventure. Tangaroa, the ocean, was sacred to Maui. It was home to rare and magnificent creatures like dolphins, fur seals, sea lions, and paua shellfish. Maui was friends with them all. As a baby, he had spent many days and nights in the ocean. The water had always kept him safe. He had been mothered in a jellyfish's embrace and cared and protected by the god of the ocean himself. The ocean had a special place in his heart, and he didn't not like being left out of its watery charms. To pass time while his brothers were away, Maui would experiment with changing forms. Sometimes he would swim as a dolphin, and at other times he would fly as an eagle. The dolphins knew he wasn't one of them, but they loved him anyway. They knew Maui came by because he got lonely, and so they indulged him. Maui spent many happy hours racing with the dolphins, sometimes jumping high above the water's surface and diving back. At other times, they played seaweed tag, in which they balanced a reed of seaweed on their head or flipper while chasing each other. The dolphins even taught Maui how to blow amazing bubble rings in the water. When he felt like he was done with his underwater games, Maui changed into an albatross and flew away into the wide open sky. His strong wings carried him far and wide. He would go wherever his heart desired. Sometimes he would fly over the sea and find his brothers. Here he would circle their waka and watch them fish. There were days when Maui roamed the lands from the high mountains to the coloured lakes and into the forests of the mighty kauri trees. These trees were ancient, alive for 1,000 years. Their trunks were thick as columns, some as wide as 16 meters, and they towered over the land 40 meters high, reaching towards the sky father Ranginui. Enchanted by the wonders of the land, Maui decided he would experience them all. He journeyed deep into dense emerald forests, where he found waterfalls gushing from cliffs, cloaked in cloud and shadow. He swam in vast blue-green lakes and fast-running north-flowing rivers. He walked through isolated woodlands draped with scraps of white mist. And then, one day, he discovered a place where time and space stood still. On one of his adventures, Maui unexpectedly stumbled upon a network of underground caves that twinkled with the lights of 1,000 glowworms. Cruising along these caves, Maui marveled at Mother Nature's light display. These caves, created from limestone formations, were home to thousands of tiny creatures that radiated their unmistakable, luminescent light in this subterranean world. So entranced was Maui by the starry wonderland that he returned to it many times. Despite experiencing such tremendous beauty, Maui still felt alone. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into a month, but Maui still wasn't allowed to accompany his brothers to their fishing grounds. One morning, Maui sat all alone on the white sand beach, watching his brothers paddle away until their waka was a tiny speck on the ocean. And although he was surrounded by deep green native bush and translucent turquoise waters, his heart felt heavy. Maui wanted to catch the biggest fish to redeem himself. So he decided to make himself the most powerful fish hook in the universe. This must be a hook that will catch something worthwhile, he thought. But how and where would Maui find the materials to craft such a fish hook? He knew regular earthly material would not be enough. To create a fish hook that could catch the most magnificent fish in the ocean, Maui needed magic. And there was only one person he knew who could harness such power. It was his grandmother, Muri Rangawhenua. Now Maui's grandmother was no ordinary lady. She was a woman of immense spiritual powers. Her spirit was ancient and glowing. Every atom of her being was pure magic. Maui knew he needed to prepare himself for this meeting with his grandmother's formidable spirit. So he sat in his waka and paddled out into the middle of the ocean. All day and all night he paddled until he reached the horizon, the point where the ocean kissed the sky. There, far away from home, on a dark, starry night, Maui stopped his paddling and took a deep breath. The fresh ocean air rushed into his body. Gently, he began taking longer, deeper breaths. With each exhale, he let go of the stress he had felt over the last few days. To meet his grandmother Muri Rangawhenua, Maui needed to journey into the land of dreams. And this wasn't an easy journey for Maui, for it required him to go into a state of inner peace and serenity. The land of dreams is a place of infinite possibilities and deep connection. In this magical land, one can easily find great love, everlasting happiness, inspiration, energy, and answers to all one's questions. The land of dreams is a place of endless opportunity and creativity, but it is only open to one who journeys there with a peaceful heart and a silent mind. Too many thoughts or feelings create hurdles in the journey. Maui knew he had to empty his heart of all unpleasantness to find beauty and peace. That was why he had chosen to come to the ocean, for it was a place very close to his heart. And in In this way, Maui prepared himself for his momentous inner journey. He laid down in his waka and prepared to sleep. Slowly, he deepened his breath and began to relax. Floating gently on the ocean, carried along by the waves, he had nothing to do except gaze at the starry night. Deep, relaxing sleep was inevitable. Almost cloudless, the sky was lit up by 1,000,000 brilliant stars. A blanket of stars that stretches to infinity, thought Maui, as the wind sighed softly around him. Maui yawned, and a wide, blissful yawn it was, releasing the tension from his jaw and throat, the kind of yawn that signals the steady approach of sleep. Maui's attention flowed down to his neck and shoulders, where he released some of the tightness in his muscles. With each exhalation, he let his body sink deeper and deeper into his waka, surrendering to the downward pull of gravity. His arms and legs lay heavily. Every part of his body felt loose and relaxed. Maui smiled with the realization that soon he would be on his way to dreamland, and savored the transition from relaxed awareness to gentle sleep. He continued to breathe long, slow, and soft, inhaling fresh air into his body, exhaling all the stress and worry away, inhaling the sweet fragrance of the ocean, exhaling all his tension. He me te ha. He me te ha. As the waves lapped against the side of his waka, the ocean sounds drifted in and out of his awareness. Enjoying the gentle soundscape, he continued to lengthen his breath. His mind drifted towards each sound, listening to the sounds within the sounds, and paying heed to the subtle oscillations and the subtones. He noticed when a thought arose and noticed when it passed away. All the while, he let his breath become softer and softer. His body felt as though it was slowly melting as he embraced this time of rest. As he rested, sometimes a few unhappy thoughts stirred up feelings. To these overwhelming thoughts and feelings, he gently whispered in his mind, "It's okay. It's okay. Everything is okay." For his grandmother to appear before him and hear his request, Maui knew he needed to embrace complete stillness. In his mind, he began talking to himself in a comforting voice, repeating over and over again, very quietly and silently, "I let myself rest without worry. I let myself rest without worry. I let myself rest without worry." Slowly, his thoughts began to fade and his breath began to lengthen. Whenever his mind wandered, Maui calmly noted without judgment that he was thinking. It was a whisper in his mind, thinking, thinking, thinking. He smiled as it brought his attention back to his breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. When the waves lapped against the side of his waka, Maui's mind whispered, hearing, hearing, hearing. When he felt his body sink deeper into a state of rest, gently his mind whispered, feeling, feeling, feeling. Allowing himself to calmly label his thoughts helped Maui remain in a state of complete rest, even though he continued to be mindful. Maui realized his heart had come to rest in a peaceful rhythm. It had synced with his breath, just as his breath had aligned with the soft swaying of the waka. There, under the loving gaze of a million stars shining brilliantly at him, Maui rested. Moments transformed into minutes, and minutes into hours as Maui continued letting go. His face softened, his shoulders eased in relief. His breathing was full and deep. He felt one with the universe. He felt one with the sky, the stars, the ocean, and the air. Maui had melted away into a state of oneness, floating in the ocean on his waka. For 4 days and 4 nights, Maui floated in silence and oneness. Having reached a state of complete stillness, Maui realized his heart felt light. There was no trace of unpleasantness. His mind felt at ease, and his soul felt a deep oneness with everyone and everything. In that moment, he had entered the land of dreams. He opened his eyes to look at the star-spangled night and saw his grandmother's spirit smiling at him. She had come for him. She had heard his heart calling out to her and had travelled through time to connect heart to heart and spirit to spirit with her grandson. Muriranga Whenua's beautiful black eyes shone with love. The radiant silvery light from her soul lit up the sky. Knowing her beloved grandchild's desire, Grandma Muri bestowed Maui with the most powerful magic from her own being. She smiled at him one last time as her vibrant spirit began to gently float away on the wings of time. When he saw her no more, Maui knew his time in the land of dreams had come to an end. Slowly, he came awake and looked up at the warm blue sky. The sun was shining, the birds were singing their songs, the dolphins were playing in the ocean, and there was happiness in Maui's heart. My dear friends, I cannot play with you on this glorious day, Maui said to the dolphins as he paddled hard to get back to shore. As soon as he got home, he began work on creating his enchanted fish hook. He worked day and night with the magic bestowed upon him to craft a magnificent fish hook. That night he wove a flax fishing line and enchanted it with a karakia, an incantation to give it strength. To this he attached the magic fish hook. Maui knew the karakia would bring a favourable outcome when he went fishing with his brothers again. Having finished his work, Maui sat in silence, enjoying the moment. Having fished all day and night, the brothers were very tired when they returned home, and so they went straight to bed. Confident about his fish hook, Maui did not bring up the subject of fishing with his brothers. He decided to wait for their next trip. One evening, the brothers gathered on the beach to sit around the crackling fire. When they made plans to set out early the next morning, Maui saw his chance. He pleaded with his brothers to let him go once more, but once again his brothers refused. The next day, while it was still dark, the brothers gathered on the beach. Relieved that their youngest brother hadn't shown up, they prepared their waka. As they placed their fishing hooks and lines into the waka, they noticed a little insect cautiously making its way to the bottom of the canoe. Thinking the insect could be used as bait, they let it be and began to push the waka into the ocean. One after another, they jumped into the waka and paddled away over the still dark waters. A cool and crisp breeze met their faces like a friend who had been waiting for them. As the canoe moved deeper and deeper into the ocean, the brothers looked up at the sky. It was still dark, sparkling with 1,000,000 stars. Mesmerized, they continued to gaze at the stars for a long time. Soon, the sky began to be filled with light, bright hues draping over the moon and the stars. And so, on that morning, like many other mornings, the brothers sat silently, enjoying the stillness of the dawn as they floated on their waka. The early morning light crept over the waters as a soft breeze gently kissed their faces. It was a beautiful bright day, with its mesmerizing deep blue tones. The vast ocean seemed like a shimmering jewel. It was time to fish. The brothers fished all day and all night, and on the morning of the next day, their little brother emerged from among the fish that lay in the bottom of the waka. At first, the brothers were surprised, but then they remembered seeing the little insect making its way into the bottom of their waka. Maui the mischievous, they thought. Since the brothers had caught many fine fish, they were satisfied and decided to make their way back home. But Maui pleaded with them to go farther out into the deeper waters so that he could cast his hook. He told them that he wanted to catch larger and better fish than they had ever captured. So they paddled to their outermost fishing grounds, but even this did not satisfy Maui. Farther out on the waters, O my brothers, I seek the great fish of the sea. Since it was easier to agree rather than argue with Maui, they paddled deeper into the ocean. Their homeland disappeared from view. All they could see was the limitless ocean. Maui urged them on still farther, and when he was finally satisfied, he drew out his magic fishhook from under his loincloth. The brothers wondered what he would do for bait. Maui used a tiny bit of his magical enchantment upon the fishhook and dropped it into the deep sea. Down it went to the very bottom, where it caught the underworld. The bottom of the sea began to move. Great waves arose, trying to carry the waka away. That's a mighty fish, thought Maui. The brothers paddled with all their might as Maui pulled in the line. The fish pulled the waka for 2 days, drawing the line to its fullest extent. It was hard rowing against the power which held the hook down in the depths of the ocean. But the brothers became enthusiastic over Maui's large fish and were generous in their strenuous endeavors. Every muscle was strained, and every paddle held strongly against the ocean, that not an inch of the line was lost. They were so absorbed in their task that they failed to realize there was no sudden leaping and darting to and fro, no give to the line, no tremble as would happen when a great fish, held captive by a hook, would shake itself in wrath. It was simply a struggle of tense muscle against an immensely heavy weight. The brothers slowly realized that Maui was in one of his strange moods, and that something beyond their former experiences with their tricky brother was coming to pass. When the line began to slack, Maui asked his brothers to pull hard against the coming fish. But instead of a flapping fish, land rose out of the water. Maui told them not to look back or the fish would be lost. At last, one of the brothers glanced back, and what he saw took his breath away. He dropped his paddle in shock. The others also turned around. Then, each brother caught his paddle and with frantic exertion tried to force their waka onward. From deep down in the churning waters, there emerged the ragged head of a large island. It seemed to be chasing them across the rolling surf. In some time the water grew shallow around them, and their waka finally came to a rest on a black beach. Maui had pulled up one of the large islands of New Zealand. On it were houses with people around them. Maui walked across the island, saw with wonder the men and women and their homes. The island was beautiful, lush, and vibrant. From cascading glaciers and active volcanoes to placid lakes and vast mountain ranges. The island was filled with dramatic landscapes as far as the eye travelled. Maui smiled at what lay before him. The name of the North Island is still Te Ika a Maui, which means the fish of Maui. Good night and sweet dreams.